What if a small copper coin resting in an old glass jar, tucked away in an inherited collection, or handed back at a local store, holds a story that goes far beyond its 1 cent face value? For generations, the Lincoln wheat penny has captivated both casual observers and serious numismatists alike. It represents an era of American history that feels both distant and incredibly familiar. Millions of people have flipped these coins between their fingers, admiring the iconic design, completely unaware that microscopic details, original mint luster, and tiny manufacturing anomalies could mean the difference between a few cents and thousands of dollars. Today, we are taking a remarkably close look at two specific issues from the final decade of this legendary design series. As this investigation unfolds, you will discover why some authenticated examples stand out as undeniable numismatic treasures, while others remain ordinary, though historically charming, reminders of the past. We will explore the critical importance of preservation, strike quality, professional grading, and how the specialized collector market evaluates these historic pieces today. 1952, D. Wheat Penny. By the time the 1952 D. Lincoln wheat penny was struck, the United States was deeply immersed in the post-World War II economic boom, while simultaneously navigating the complexities of the Korean War. The nation's factories were operating at full capacity, and everyday commerce required a constant, massive flow of small change. To meet this immense demand, the United States Mint facility in Denver, Colorado, worked tirelessly, producing hundreds of millions of these copper cents. At first glance, a 1952 D penny looks like any other vintage cent. However, understanding the exact specifications and historical context is the first step towards separating common pocket change from a collector's masterpiece. The obverse of the coin continues to feature the classic, enduring portrait of President Abraham Lincoln facing right, originally designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner in 1909. Just below the date on the obverse, a small D mint mark proudly indicates its Denver origin. Turning the coin over reveals the legendary reverse design that gives this series its name. Two stylized wheat stalks curving upward along the left and right edges, framing the bold inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum resting at the top. It is crucial to remember that this is the classic wheat ears design, representing agricultural abundance, which is entirely distinct from the later Lincoln Memorial reverse that would not be introduced until years later. The physical composition of the 1952 D penny marks a return to traditional numismatic standards. After the brief and necessary use of zinc-coated steel during 1943 and the use of salvaged shell-cased copper in the mid-1940s, the mint had fully reverted to the classic French bronze alloy. This composition consisted of 95% copper and a 5% mixture of tin and zinc. Each freshly minted coin weighed precisely 3.11 grams, measured 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and featured a smooth plain edge. Because the Denver Mint produced over 746 million of these pennies in 1952, they are not inherently rare in circulated condition. If you find one in a heavily worn state, displaying flattened wheat stalks, a smooth portrait, and a dark, oxidized brown color, it serves as a wonderful piece of history but holds very little financial premium. However, the true fascination for advanced collectors lies not in the coin's mere existence, but in its survival. When specialists evaluate a 1952 D wheat penny, condition is the ultimate deciding factor. Professional grading services utilizing the internationally recognized Sheldon scale carefully examine the coin for strike sharpness, surface preservation, original luster, and overall eye appeal. Because copper is a highly reactive metal, its color plays an enormous role in determining market desirability. Graders assign specific color designations: brown, red-brown, and full red. A coin that has circulated and naturally oxidized will receive a brown designation. While attractive in its own right, the most intense collector competition is reserved for coins that have miraculously retained their original, brilliant factory color, earning the coveted full red designation. An authenticated, certified Mint State 67 full red 1952 D penny is a breathtaking sight. It displays uninterrupted, vibrant copper luster and a razor-sharp strike that brings out the finest details in Lincoln's hair and the delicate lines of the wheat ears. Such an exceptional, top-tier survivor can command prices well over $1,000 at auction, simply because finding one that has escaped decades of handling, moisture, and environmental damage is incredibly difficult. Beyond pristine condition, the 1952 D is famous among variety hunters for a specific, highly sought-after manufacturing anomaly, the D over S over mint mark, often referred to as an OMM. During this era, mint marks were still punched into the working dies by hand. In a rare mix-up, a die that had originally been stamped with an S for the San Francisco Mint was later over-punched with a D and sent to Denver for production. Under strong magnification, the remnants of the underlying S can be clearly seen protruding from the edges of the primary D mint mark. When authenticated by a respected third-party grading service, a high-grade 1952 D over SOMM is considered a major prize, often realizing substantial premiums in specialized numismatic auctions. Other minor varieties, such as repunched mint marks, some RPMs, also exist, where the D was struck slightly off-center and then punched a second time. However, seasoned experts always issue a stern warning regarding errors and varieties. Never mistake post-mint damage for a valuable mint error. Scratches, environmental corrosion, or mechanical damage suffered in commerce cannot magically transform an ordinary coin into a rare variety. Furthermore, attempting to clean an old penny with household chemicals, abrasive cloths, or acidic dips is a disastrous mistake. Cleaning strips away the original surface metal, completely destroying the coin's numismatic integrity and instantly plummeting its value. True collectors value originality above all else, preferring a naturally aged, uncleaned coin over one that has been artificially shined. 1958, D. Lincoln Wheat Penny. 6 years later, the Denver Mint produced the 1958 D. Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that carries an immense emotional and historical weight within the numismatic community. This specific issue marks the absolute end of an era. The year 1958 was the final production year for Victor David Brenner's beloved wheat ears reverse design, which had defined the American 1-cent piece for exactly half a century, dating back to 1909. By the following year, the United States Mint would introduce the Lincoln Memorial Reverse to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, forever retiring the iconic wheat stalks. Therefore, the 1958 D serves as the grand finale of one of the most widely collected series in global numismatics. Knowing that the design was coming to an end, the Denver Mint operated at a staggering pace, striking over 800 million of these transitional pieces. The physical specifications of the 1958 D mirror those of the early 1950s. It was struck on a solid bronze planche containing 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing the standard 3.11 grams with a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. The familiar portrait of Lincoln graces the obverse with the D mint mark located squarely below the 1958 date. On the reverse, the two wheat ears make their final proud appearance. Because this was the last year of issue, an interesting psychological phenomenon occurred among the American public. Millions of people, aware that the wheat penny was being discontinued, hoarded original bank rolls of 1958 D cents. They tucked them away in safes, sock drawers, and safety deposit boxes, assuming that the final year of issue would automatically guarantee future wealth. This widespread hoarding created a unique situation in today's collector market. Unlike earlier dates where uncirculated examples are genuinely scarce, original uncirculated rolls of 1958 D pennies are actually quite common. Consequently, simply being uncirculated does not make a 1958 D penny valuable. To achieve any significant premium, the coin must represent the absolute pinnacle of numismatic perfection. This introduces the concept of extreme condition rarity. Because there is a massive supply of Mint State 63, Mint State 64, and Mint State 65 examples readily available, the market heavily penalizes even the slightest imperfection. A tiny carbon spot, a microscopic bag mark acquired when the coin fell into the minting bin, or a slight weakness in the strike can render the coin essentially common. Registry set collectors who compete fiercely to build the highest graded collections in existence will only pursue coins that are certified at Mint State 67, Mint State 67 Plus or higher with a full red color designation. When one of these mathematically flawless specimens appears at auction, displaying liquid-like blazing red luster, completely devoid of spotting or contact marks, it can ignite a bidding war, frequently resulting in a final sale price in the thousands of dollars. The difference in value between a slightly imperfect Mint State 65 and a flawless Mint State 67 Plus is staggering, perfectly illustrating how uncompromising the modern grading standard has become. While major blockbuster errors are less common on the 1958D compared to some earlier dates, the issue is highly popular among collectors of minor die anomalies, particularly the BIE die break. As the steel die struck millions of hard copper planchets, they eventually began to crack under the immense pressure. A very frequent location for these cracks to develop was on the obverse, right between the letters B and E in the word liberty. As the crack widened, metal would flow into the gap during striking, creating what looks like a capital letter I lodged between the B and the E. While a BIE error on a 1958D is not a path to early retirement, it is a fascinating, highly collectible piece of minting history that adds character and a modest premium to the coin. Advanced specialists also meticulously examine the mint mark for repunched mint marks, RPMs, searching for secondary outlines beneath the primary D. Just as with the 1952 issue, proper authentication of these varieties by a respected third-party grading organization is the only way to solidify their legitimacy and market value. Ultimately, the story of these two Denver minted pennies, one struck during the height of post-war expansion and the other marking the bittersweet conclusion of a 50-year legacy, highlights the true essence of numismatics. It is never just about the date stamped on the front. The true magic lies in the intersection of original preservation, manufacturing, history, and disciplined grading. For anyone fortunate enough to possess high-quality examples of these coins, proper storage is absolutely mandatory. They must be handled strictly by their edges to prevent the acidic oils on human skin from permanently etching fingerprints into the copper. They should be housed in inert, PVC-free archival holders or rigid plastic capsules, shielded from humidity, extreme temperature fluctuations, and airborne contaminants. Through careful observation, respectful preservation, and a refusal to fall for sensationalized online rumors, collectors can ensure that the rich, authentic history of the Lincoln Wheat penny is accurately passed down to the next generation, one remarkable coin at a time.